Hi, welcome back to my home. I hope that you're ready for chapter 5 and that you've been thinking about how we learned about Kevin in the last chapter. And it was through the character interactions, the dialogue. There was a lot of dialogue in last chapter. And again, it's because this is in first person point of view. It's through Max's eyes. So we're only going to see Max's thoughts and feelings. It's kind of like the binoculars that we're looking through for this. And what we learn about Kevin is going to be through Max's point of view and through the dialogue. What facial expressions Max may see about Kevin, and then what Kevin says. So we're going to continue on into chapter 6. We're learning more about our characters and the conflict, the problem is developing. We know that Max is known as a bully, doesn't feel like he's a very bright person. And Kevin is very smart, very bright, but he has some physical challenges, some things that make life difficult for him. I mean, think about someone who is in 8th grade and is the size of a kindergartner, somebody who would be in Kittyland physically. And so we're going to see how each of these characters overcome these obstacles and what happens. And remember that the conflict and the problem is going to lead us to the theme of the story, because how these characters figure out how to overcome their problems, that's what's going to lead us to understanding the theme of the book. So all of these things are developing. So today we're going to read on page 21, Spitting Image. There's a place I go inside my head sometimes. It's cool and dim in there, and you float like a cloud. No, you are a cloud. The kind you see in the sky on a windy day. The way they keep changing shape, except you can't really see it changing. It just sort of happens. And suddenly you realize the cloud that looks like a big hand with fat fingers now looks like a catcher's mitt or a big soft TV set. Like that. Anyhow, I went there right after the fair Gwen ran off with that look on her face like, what was he doing with my poor little boy, stealing him away in the wagon? What I do is lie on the floor under my bed, where you can just barely see the bed springs and stuff because it's so dark, and before long I'm somewhere else, sort of floating, and so it's cool and empty in there. You don't have to think about anything. You're nothing. You're nobody. Nothing matters. You're not even there. Time out. Except this time I can't stay as long as I'd like, because Graham is knocking on the door, going, Maxwell, Max, are you in there? Please answer me, dear. It's important. Yeah, right. But I wedge out from under the bed. There's getting to be less and less room under there. And I dust myself off and I open the door. There's no lock, but Graham has this thing about waiting until I say, come in. She makes a big deal about not intruding. Maxwell, she says, and she takes a little step inside the room, and you can tell she'd rather not be here. She makes this face because the place is dark and messy. Probably smells like my socks or whatever. Max, dear, I'm sorry to bother you. You know I never come into the basement. But I just got a call from Gwen Avery, and I think it's important. Uh-oh, I'm thinking. Now the fair Gwen is calling up my Graham, probably to report a great hulking beast that lives in the cellar. And I close up inside, waiting for the worst. She called to say how sorry she was, Graham is saying. Huh? I guess she came to pick up her little boy. Is that right? You and Kevin were making friends? Making friends? What a wet idea is that? But Graham gets her feelings hurt pretty easy, so I actually don't say that. What I say is, yeah, I guess so. Graham is uneasy. I can see her eyes flitting nervously around the room, like she's crossing the border into a really foreign country. This is as good a place as any to mention that even though Graham is my grandmother, she doesn't look like a granny. She looks more like a mother because she was, as she will always say, a mere child myself when my real mother was born. Well, I get the impression poor Gwen wasn't expecting to see you looking so big, and now she thinks she's offended you. Does that make any sense? I guess so. You know her, huh? Oh my, yes, said Graham. Gwen was a good friend of your mother's. They were both pregnant at the same time. Then later on, you and little Kevin went to the same daycare. Did you know that? I give a shrug because I really don't like Graham to know how much I remember about way back then. Graham is saying, she said she especially wanted me to tell you this, Max. She said she's delighted that you and Kevin are going to be friends. That's the word she used, delighted. And she's inviting you to supper. First thing, without thinking, I say, do I have to? Graham reaches out and she puts her hand on my shoulder, real light and feathery. You can feel how nervous she is just to touch me and how it makes her uncomfortable to have to look up at me because I did mention I'm a lot bigger than Graham. Bigger than Grim, too. Bigger than most people. It's true. Graham says, she feels bad about how she treated you, Maxwell, dear, and she wants to make it up to you. You don't have to go, but it would be the right thing to do. It was no big deal, I say. She just ran away is all. I guess I scared her. It wasn't you, Graham says. No? Then who was it that scared her? Now she's got her tongue stuck, and you can see her swallowing in her throat like her mouth is dry. I'll just leave that to Gwen, she says. She's quite a remarkable young woman, you know, raising that poor boy all on his own. He's not a poor boy, I say. You should hear him talk. I think the rest of him is so small because his brain is so big. Max's perspective. Yes, says Graham. Well. Graham is always saying that. Well, like it means something, which I guess it does to her. Anyhow, I agree to have supper with Freak and his mom, even though the idea of it makes me feel tensed up. Like there is a hand inside my stomach, and the hand is, making a fist. It turns out not to be so bad. The fair Gwen, right away she's beaming at me, bouncing around the kitchen and talking a mile a minute, so fast the words kind of smush together. So did Susan excuse me, your grandmother? Your mom and I were pals, that is, until she got married. Excuse me, I never could abide that man I always thought was crazy and scary. Is it okay to say that to you? Won't be offended? That looks like hashtags way before hashtags were ever started. It's like this delay when I sort it out. And then I go, yeah, Graham told me. And the stuff about her knowing my father and thinking he was sick in the head, I decided no comment is the way to go. You were the cutest little baby, Gwen says. I remember like it was yesterday. We were all of us living over in the tenements in those days because the rent was so cheap and we were all just starting out. Freak is on the floor, digging through the packing boxes for pots and pans and stuff. He's almost inside this box, All you can see is his funny little rear end sticking out. You'd think he was maybe 2 or 3 years old. That's how small he is. Until you notice where his leg brace makes a lump in his pants. From inside the box, he goes, "Hey, Gwen, leave the guy alone, huh? You're going spastic." "Am I?" Gwen asks. She's at the counter, going through the drawers and looking for spoons or whatever. "Sorry, Max. That is, I'm sorry we got off on the wrong foot. It's just, you know." Freak's head pops out of the box, and he's got this wicked know-it-all grin. What she means is, "You're a spitting image of your old man." Gwen says, "Kevin, please." And her voice is real small, like she's embarrassed. "Yeah," I say. "Everybody says that." "They do?" I shrug. Is it really such a big deal for a boy to look like his father? Which is typical butthead thinking. Because of course it's a big deal. If your father happens to be in prison, which everybody in town knows about, it's not like there's any secret about what he did or why he's there, except everybody acts like it should be a secret. And the bigger I grow and the more I look like my old man, the worse it gets. "You really knew him," I say. "I mean, him and my mom when they were together?" "Not very well," Gwen says. She's looking for a knife to slice open a pack of hot dogs. "I never saw much of your mom after they got married. He made it difficult for your mother to have any friends." There's a knife on the table, and I pick it up and hand it to the fair Gwen. She doesn't flinch away, and I decide she's okay. She's really pretty cool. "So," Freak is saying, "when do we eat? My fuel cells are depleted." Supper is great. The fair Gwen makes this really tasty potato salad with spices and stuff. Way better than the mushy stuff Graham makes. And we have hot dogs fried in a pan with the buns toasted up, butter crisp, just the way I like. And 2 kinds of relish and 3 kinds of mustard and red onions cut up real small. We sit out in the backyard eating from paper plates, and Freak tells robot stories that are so strange and funny, I'm laughing like a maniac, and then I'm choking, and Freak is pounding me on the back. "Expel the object," Freak shouts. "Regurgitate, you big moron." And he gives me another thump, and I cough up this yucky mess, but I'm still laughing so hard my nose is running. What a goon. Except it really is funny. Me trying to sneeze a hot dog through my nose, and we're both laughing like total morons. "This is great," Gwen says, looking at Freak and back and me. "I'm so glad we decided to move back, you know. I feel like we're all getting a fresh start. It's time to get home. Graham gets nervous if I'm not back before dark. Everything seems really great, just like Gwen says. Except when I lie down in my bed, it hits me, boom, and I'm crying like a baby. And the really weird thing is, I'm happy." So, chapter 2 is chapter 5. We'll meet back again soon for chapter 6. I look forward to hearing your thoughts. In Google Classroom, you can post under this link of what you're thinking about this chapter, what you're thinking about the book so far, and how you're getting to know Kevin and Max, and now Fair Gwen. So, I'll talk to you soon. Bye.